All right.
I'm here with Nathaniel Nelson of NMN. How are you, Nathaniel?
I'm okay. Happy to be here. Thanks for having me.
Awesome. Yeah, nice hat, by the way.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah. Let me start by asking if you can answer what is the last thing that you've Google search?
Gosh. Uh, that's a good question. Um, Probably something either to do with trying to repair my car or trying to uh, keep up on the latest news,
Gotcha.
everything that's happening in the country.
hmm Yeah, you're living in a different country than mine. Yeah, I'm in Canada and you're in the US. So,
Yep.
yeah. Yeah. Which car do you drive, if I may ask?
Oh, it's just a older Volkswagen.
hmm Gotcha. Right. So this is the first time that we've met, and I wonder if you can, I guess, an introduce yourself session would be a bit like what would be the first three things that me and the audience would uh like to know about you firsthand.
Uh, well, I guess I I'm sort of trying to um, reinvent myself, trying to get over my fears of music performance that I've had for many years.
Mhm.
Um, I I because of the um, having a lot of downtime with the pandemic, decided to work on recording uh, an album, and um, I, I have I, I have a lot to say. I think about what I think is what I perceive is going on around me and in society right now, and um, just enjoy creating music and wanting to share it and wanting to share what I'm thinking. So,
Mhm. Gotcha. When's the first? Do you remember your first musical performance? Like the first time you ever performed music in front of a crowd?
oh, it was probably a piano recital
hmm
when I was pretty young. Nerve wracking. Didn't
Yeah.
didn't like it at all. Not my favorite thing to do. Uh, but I I worked to get over it,
Mhm.
and been playing live quite a bit the past few years,
Oh, I see.
until the pandemic hit, and just really enjoy it now.
I see. Do you remember the first time that you performed like your own material, like the music that you wrote in front of a crowd?
Ah, gosh. Yeah, I s- I started to write um almost 20 years ago, and I've
hmm
tried to there are two songs that I've tried to play, um uh but yeah, I didn't really enjoy it or pursue it. So I I've two of the songs on the first EP were songs that I had just been carrying around for quite a while, and sort of reproduced and revamped them. So
I see. Right. You sent me an email. I think the question is, how should I introduce you when I put one of your songs on airplay? And I guess you've sent me this. With a surface less shallow than that of its shape, in kind, in irregular rhyme, will we a balance find? Cylindrical Walls is the first LP release from Kalamazoo, Michigan-based artist NMN, and it explores such a question. Would you
yes.
like to say more about what do you mean by that?
Um, yeah, it's just a way of um, trying to be mindful of our current situation, um, and and this album, um, sort of it's a commentary, I guess,
Mhm.
on what I perceive and um, what I think about um, society and the mood, I guess, the mood surrounding, um, and um, yeah, I mean it's a very general um, way of being perceptive of and trying to process everything.
Would you say that there's a general like concept around all the tracks behind the album?
Uh, they it kind of varies. Um, I Yeah, I mean the general concept is um, just dealing with isolation, um, being sort of uh, having to deal with your own thoughts and sort of going back over events in one's life and trying to process all that. And um, some of it is about that, uh, about that feeling of being isolated, and some of that is um, my own personal thoughts that I've gone through and dealt with.
Hmm. I see. Yeah, I've actually listened to the album, or at least parts of it, just hours before we meet, and I think it's an incredible record. It's
Well, thank
very
you.
luscious and sonically layered. I wondered, how long did it take you to record the whole thing?
Um, I let's see. It's just about a year.
Hmm.
Um, working working part time and then working on the album in addition, and just it was written at my home studio, and did everything except the artwork on the actual CD for it, and so it took me a while because I'm still kind of figuring out what I'm doing. not always too sure.
I see.
And so yeah, it's been kind of a fun learning process. Um, and so yeah, I
Right. Did you play all of the instruments in the record?
I did. Live instruments are
Hmm?
guitar.
Oh wow.
I played the guitar, and the rest is either I played the piano parts, or they're composed, MIDI composed,
Mhm.
um, and plenty of synthesizer effects and all that. So um, yeah, I'll either performed or composed. Definitely benefit from I definitely benefit from the all the technology we have available
Definitely.
to us. But yeah, it's composed to hopefully, put together a live ensemble to play.
Mhm. Right. I see. How would you describe the town that you're living in now? Kalamazoo, Michigan. I've never been there. So.
It's a small town. Uh, it's um, it's but it has kind of a big city feel
Mhm.
in certain places. Um, plenty of things to do. Um, Lots of cool music venues.
Mhm.
Downtown, there's a lot of um, places to eat and drink and all that, and um, definitely enjoy performing there.
Mhm.
Um, it's yeah, it's a bit isolated. Other than Grand Rapids, I think it's probably the biggest city in in the southwest part of Michigan. Um, and yeah, uh, our family has been here for generations, and it's yeah, it's just a nice place. It's got everything in kind of a small, compact place. So
I see. Yeah. I think I would use the same words really to describe the city that I'm currently living in right now, Peterborough, Ontario. And I wonder, you talk about the feelings of isolation that you have, and I wonder, uh, would would being in a big city help or intensify the isolation? Because I always thought that yeah, there are many people, yes, and you can feel very overwhelmed by a city, but for some reason you retain that anonymity for most people, and if you find like certain scenes that you can hang out with in a big city, and I mean, there are many like pockets of populations who are interested in many like niche things that you can hang out with, then I think the isolation will be alleviated. So I wonder, have you lived in a big city at some point?
um, if you could, I mean, if you consider Grand Rapids a big city, I was I lived there for a short time, year or two.
Mhm.
Um, it's it's bigger than Kalamazoo for sure. Um, I don't know. I'm sort of an introverted kind of person. Um, it's strange. I don't. I've gotten used to being in crowds and around people
Mhm.
more as I get older, and so uh, it it doesn't really the I would say the the big city aspect. Um, I don't know. Um, it seems a little less personal, I guess. Um, but it also seems more um, lively. I mean, there's certainly more nightlife and all that in a big city, but
Mhm.
it's um, for me a person that kind of likes to um, stay in their bubble
Mhm.
quite a bit. You know, it's not really it's not really that um, much of a difference for me. I'm not. I'd say that if I were to pick a city, I would prefer Kalamazoo over Grand Rapids,
Mhm.
just for that reason that you know if you um, if you like taste of the big city feel and having access to everything, but having kind of a more personal um, experience, a little more, you know, local. I'm not really sure how to describe it, but it's you know Kalamazoo is certainly you know has has everything you need. So
I see. Yeah, I say so. I mean, so I visit Toronto a few times. I think that's probably like that's probably like one of the bigger, I guess, cities that I visited. Um, and I think I mean I would imagine myself living there. But the thing is, it can be quite difficult because one of the worst things is that it can be quite a noisy city, like even at night, and I need my sleep, I guess. And of course, if you and I think in a small town, people can be a lot more hospitable, and then like you can fit in with people there. They're more welcoming. But in the city, it's a bit more well, you fend for yourself kind of stuff, which I kind of felt when because I sort of grew up under in a pretty big city, Hanoi, Vietnam, actually, and again, one thing that really drives me drove me to the wall is the noise. Like yeah, there's noise in the morning. I mean, there's no noise at night, no, but you know, there's noise and the noise and there's the traffic, and then there's people not being the most friendly to you. So I think you get the friendliness in a small town. That's I think that's better. Yeah.
well, yeah, I have visited Toronto, London, Ontario, and uh, and Windsor a few times, and yeah, Toronto certainly. Um, that was the first time that I felt like I was in a place that was connected internationally. Um, you know, it's a big it's kind of a big culture shock. Um, it was you know that's a uh, it was a further um, reminder of realization, I guess, of um, how society here is certainly more narrow. Um, um, Even though it it may not always appear that way. Um, and um, the other thing I noticed is how clean it was for such a big city. Um, and that's certainly not the as uh, it's certainly not the deal here.
Mhm.
Um, so yeah, and London was a really cool that reminded me of just a Kalamazoo sort of town, or just a lot of cool venues and places to hang out.
I see. Yeah. Yeah, I think yeah, Hanoi was not the cleanest city I've that I lived in. I know that because of the pandemic, everyone's wearing masks now. But back in Hanoi, that's kind of something that I had to do routinely every time I get outside because the air is so dusty, and I kind of developed an allergy because of the dusty air. Which is really, really bad. But moving on, who would you say are your musical influences?
Uh, well, I grew up with a lot of the '70s uh, prog rock bands
Sure.
playing in the
Yeah.
background. Um,
Mhm.
Pink Floyd is probably my all-time favorite. Um, but bands like Genesis and Pink Floyd, uh, all the classic um, prog stuff, um, and uh, for current music, anything um, uh, similar to Radiohead, um, Bon Iver, um, um, Coldplay, uh, all of the alt rock, progressive rock bands. I just I'm always looking for new stuff. So
Yeah.
I put that um, uh, that my music I try to kind of compare it to Paper Route or the Temper Trap.
Right.
Um, so
Hmm.
um, yeah, just um, kind of the psychedelic indie alt rock genre.
I see. Yeah. Yeah. I have a few Pink Floyd records as well as Genesis records in my collection. I think because this is winter, I really enjoyed that album For Emma Forever Ago by Bon Iver as well. I think he would later make like way more experimental and thematically layered records than that.
Yes,
But
yeah,
yeah, but I think the first album is incredible, and I think what's so incredible about it is that you read the lyrics and you have no idea what's going on. Like I don't.
he's a definitely uh, a unique lyricist. It's
Mhm.
yeah, it's difficult to figure out what he's trying to say at times, but I mean, uh, some of the influence and things that I think about when I listen to a Pink Floyd album is how lyrics sound. not just necessarily what they say,
Mm.
but I think that he certainly um, has the ability to write lyrics that are just um, about their impact and how they sound, and that's a it's a cool writing style.
I see. Oh yeah. I think the most recent Pink Floyd record that I got my a record of is their 2014 album, The Endless River. I wonder if you've listened to it.
I think I have. I don't. It's one that I don't own. Um, I think I listened to it, but it's been a few years
Is it?
um, since I have. So um,
Yeah, I believe I listened to it the first time that it came out, so I may have been in middle to high school back then. Um, and I think it was the album that sort of like convinced me that this is this is good music and I should check out more of it actually. So yeah, the album is mostly instrumental, save for the final track, and all of it sounds like incredibly soulful and you know uh, emotionally dense.
yeah. Oh, I well, that's. Um, I mean, that's David Gilmour's
Mhm.
style, and that he's not shredder guitar player. He just the amount of feeling he puts into his solos.
Mhm.
I aspire to to do the same thing on my albums. I have a long way to go, but
Mhm.
it's he. Um, it just there's no other guitar player that I can think of um, that can convey such emotion through his playing, um, and say so much without actually saying anything. I guess
Oh yeah,
rather playing it. So
yeah. I feel the same thing. Yeah, I feel the same thing. I'd say upon listening to your album, I think I detect quite I'm because I know that what your musical influences are. I do detect some of the elements that are signature to the sound in in your musical album. But I think at first the artist that I'm reminded of the most is the UK-based electronic musician James Blake.
okay,
Yeah,
okay,
yeah, he.
uh, yeah. Yeah, I remember one of his albums getting really popular here,
Mhm.
but I haven't heard from him in many years. So I guess I'm not familiar with his recent music.
I see. I've only listened to one of his albums up close. Actually, his latest one. It was released in early 2019. The album title is called "Assume Form," and of course, it's rather different from his I guess his previous records. I guess, but it contains a bunch of really like soulful love songs even, and he borrows from a lot of people and um, especially hip hop. Actually, there's one of his songs that I think it's really good. It's I believe it's called Mile High, and it features Travis Scott and the producer Metro Boomin, and it's a really great mix and mash of hip hop and electronica. And I mean, James Blake himself had production credits in several songs of Travis Scott's previous album, Astro World. So
Okay.
yeah, yeah, they're both like really good at melody and sound texture.
All right. Well, I I remember the he had sort of a acoustic piano type album, probably 10, 15 years ago that I remember. Um, but yeah, I'll have to I'll have to do more research.
Mhm. Right. So you mentioned society. What do you what's your general view on society as a whole? Like, if you can condense that into a few sentences, I guess.
Well, I guess it's more the mood that just hasn't been really great, even before the pandemic, and I think it's all kind of come to the surface,
Mhm.
and it's it's a bit it's a bit unnerving to witness, but it's yeah, it's just a feeling that the sense of community, the sense of um, um, a common cause is just kind of gone, has been gone. Um, I'm optimistic that it's it's people are kind of waking up and coming around and um, seeing it for what it really is. Um, it yeah, it's just there's so much um, competition for competition's sake. Just just uh, everyone feeling kind of uh, being outraged, being offended by something, or just pre going into a conversation or a relationship being kind of um, guarded, um, overly defensive, that sort of thing, and just um,
Mhm.
it's just it's not the kind of um, it's not the kind of mood that I remember 20 years ago. Um, that was uh, I don't know. People just seem a lot more laid back
Mhm.
than they are now. So
Let's see. Yeah, and yeah, I do think that there's more, I guess, distrust in the air right now.
yep,
Like,
for sure. Yep, that's good. Yep,
and yeah, and you get these BuzzFeed type articles floating around about like how to deal with your uncle when he comes by during Thanksgiving. The assumption is that your uncle is somehow a terrible person because he believes in the different things that you do. He has different sets of values that you do, and therefore he's not even worth talking to as a family member. He's just a hurdle to whatever fun that you have during Thanksgiving. And of course, that's I don't think. I don't think that should be a common thing to view. I mean, I think even if you don't like your family member, I mean, they are your family member, so you kind of have to get along with them at some point. And if you are to, if they are to come by during like Thanksgiving dinner, or in my case, Vietnamese Lunar New Year, um, you know, it shouldn't be, I guess, imperative for you to make a, you know, the long the extended family member feels somewhat welcome in some way. And one of the things that disturbs me also is how it's funny because you met, there's a situation where you met someone in real life, yeah, and you know, you and them get along, and then you found out on social media that they have they posit different views than you, and they may have said things that you find objectionable. And what do you do? And for many people, the option would be to never see this person in real life again.
Right.
You know?
Right. Yeah. I mean, it's just it's
Mhm.
it's a difficult time to for people going into such polarized uh,
Mhm.
places, and um, yeah, it's you know, it's sad because going back to um, um, you know, that community feeling, having that such polarized views, it's yeah, it's tough. Sometimes you have to draw the line,
Mhm.
uh, about you know
Mhm.
um, people's views. I think they, a lot of times, I think they're um, they come from a place of fear. Things are changing
Mhm.
um, here, especially. Um, you know, America has been kind of um, uh, stuck in a uh, almost stuck in a trance of um, following a brand rather than what what we're really all about. And so I think a lot of times, uh, people are just you know they're stuck in that American America brand thinking,
Mhm.
or what they perceive it to be. And it's more about winning an argument for the sake of winning, rather than you know
Mhm.
critically thinking about the situation, and that we all sort of have the same basic needs.
Mhm.
So you know it's yeah, you have to be discerning. um you know um I try not to be too judgmental, but I do have to try to be discerning about you know who's out there. So
Mhm.
it's and it's difficult to navigate because especially online, you know, um, I mean, I'm not always sure who I'm talking to. So, you know, the internet is a great place to discuss things, but it also creates a um, sort of uh, it creates difficulty in really knowing um, people's identity and what they really stand for.
Mhm.
You know, so
Oh yeah. I think that lockdown sort of intensified it too, because it confines all of us into our homes, where I think the only means of reaching out to the world is via the internet. And
yeah.
you know, and of course, social media is never the place to, I guess, to form productive discussions. I don't think that's the case.
Yeah, I certainly agree.
Mhm.
I don't really use social media. I've used it. Um, I've used it in the past, trying to promote music and stuff like that. But you know, it just you know, I'd rather um, it still doesn't seem personal. It doesn't seem as personal as I'd like it to be. And um, you know, it can only go so far as in, you know, conveying what's on your mind. It doesn't it doesn't it doesn't give the full picture, or it gives a picture that's kind of skewed. So yeah, it's definitely not a um, it's it's being misused for
Of
sure.
course.
So I try to stay away from it.
Mhm.
I figure if you really want to talk to me, there are plenty of ways to do that. So
Oh yeah, yeah, of course. Yeah. So I think my final question to you is, you mentioned that you have that America is kind of following a brand rather than a certain set of ideals. And I wonder, what is your image of America? What do you think that the country that you live in should look like? I mean, I've always wanted to visit America, and I think as someone who has lived there forever, well, you think you can enlighten us?
well, somewhat optimistic now. I
Mhm.
think with some of the recent um, political changes, I think things are finally um, uh, starting to look a little better. Um, I think, you know, it's hard to describe, other than you know, for me personally, I'm kind of a laid back individual that, you know, uh likes to just hang out in a more, you know, intellectual college town, and
Mhm.
just you know, having access to art and music and all these things, and um, you know, just a sense of community where um, there's more of a live and let live kind of feel, but at the same time, um, um, being vigilant, being about keeping the community going, helping out, and volunteering and things like that, and and rethinking priorities, about what we think is being successful. You know, what we what we perceive as being success in the society. And it isn't winning for the sake of winning. I think it's discussion and learning from each other, and just um, enjoying the moments a little bit more, rather than being sort of stuck in a system where people kind of get lost and feel insignificant, and feel jaded, and forgotten about. So
Gotcha. Well, with that being said, thank you, Nathaniel,
thank
for
you.
being on the program.
Thank
Great
you.
chatting with you.
Thank you for having me. Good to meet you, and thank you for taking the time.
All right. Cheers. Have a good day, man.
All right, cheers. You too.